Finland's role in World War II is unique and complex, marked by three distinct conflicts: the Winter War and the Continuation War, followed by the Lapland War. These wars were largely shaped by Finland's geopolitical position, sandwiched between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, and its desire to maintain sovereignty. The Winter War, 1939 to 1940. Finland's involvement in World War II began with the Winter War against the Soviet Union. In the lead-up to the conflict, the Soviet Union sought to secure its western borders by demanding Finnish territory, particularly areas close to Leningrad, modern-day St. Petersburg. The Soviet Union, under Joseph Stalin, viewed Finland as a strategic threat, and in November 1939, after Finland rejected Soviet demands for territorial concessions, the Red Army invaded. Outnumbered and outgunned, Finland fought back with remarkable resilience. The Finnish forces were smaller, with limited resources, but they were fighting on home terrain, in brutal winter conditions, and were highly motivated to defend their independence. The Finnish army used guerrilla tactics, ski troops, and knowledge of the forested landscape to inflict heavy losses on the Soviets. One famous figure from this conflict is Simo Häyhä, a Finnish sniper who is credited with over 500 kills, earning him the nickname White Death. His actions symbolize the tenacity and skill of the Finnish soldiers during the Winter War. Despite their fierce resistance, Finland could not hold out indefinitely against the vast Soviet war machine. By March 1940, after 105 days of fighting, the war ended with the signing of the Moscow Peace Treaty. Finland lost about 10% of its territory, including the Karelian Isthmus, its second-largest city Viipuri, and 12% of its population had to be evacuated from these ceded areas. However, Finland maintained its sovereignty, a significant achievement given the initial expectations of a quick Soviet victory. The Continuation War, 1941 to 1944. The Winter War left Finland with a deep sense of grievance, as it had lost significant territory. When Nazi Germany launched Operation Barbarossa in June 1941, its invasion of the Soviet Union, Finland saw an opportunity to regain the lands it had lost. Thus began the Continuation War, in which Finland aligned itself with Germany, though it did not officially become part of the Axis powers. During the Continuation War, Finnish forces initially made significant gains, recapturing lost territories and advancing deep into Soviet territory. However, as the tide of the war turned in favor of the Allies, Finland found itself in an increasingly precarious position. The Soviet Union launched a massive offensive in June 1944, and Finland was again forced onto the defensive. By this time, it was clear that Nazi Germany was losing the war, and Finland began to seek peace with the Soviets. In September 1944, Finland signed an armistice with the Soviet Union. The terms were harsh. Finland had to cede more territory than it had in 1940, including the strategically important port of Petsamo. Additionally, Finland was required to expel German forces from its territory, leading to the Lapland War. The Lapland War, 1944 to 1945. After the armistice with the Soviets, Finland had to fulfill its obligation to drive the remaining German forces out of northern Finland. This conflict, known as the Lapland War, took place primarily in the Arctic region. The Germans, retreating from the advancing Soviet Red Army, implemented a scorched earth policy, destroying infrastructure and towns as they withdrew. The city of Rovaniemi, for example, was almost entirely burned down. The aftermath. Finland emerged from World War II battered but still an independent nation. The country had lost over 90,000 soldiers and civilians during the wars, and the economic and territorial losses were substantial. However, Finland managed to avoid occupation and the establishment of a Soviet puppet regime, which had been a real possibility earlier in the conflict. Finland agreed to pay heavy reparations to the Soviet Union, which were eventually completed by the early 1950s, but the country rebuilt itself and maintained its democratic institutions. Thank you for watching and please subscribe.